have a little talk about Shane McMahon meeting Tony Khan, because that's something that surprised a lot of people. Again, let's go back a little bit in the timeline. Let's go back to in the timeline a little bit here. In late June 2024, there were rumors that started to go around speculating that Shane McMahon had sent out feelers to AEW for work. It seems the rumor started when Conrad Thompson, on an episode of one of his podcasts, I think it's the JR one, said that a mutual friend texted him out of the blue to say that it wasn't as crazy an idea. It wasn't as crazy an idea as one may think, the idea of Shane McMahon hanging out or doing stuff with AEW, since McMahon had reached out to AEW wrestlers to hypothetically discuss the idea. Interesting. Tony Khan told Dave Meltzer directly in the June 2024 2024 Observer newsletter that he had never met Shane McMahon. The quote is, "I've never met him or talked to McMahon in my life." There you go. On June 26th, Tony Khan, just a couple of days after the Observer, told Sports Illustrated that Shane would always be welcome in AEW. Here's the quote. "I heard the rumor he might be interested. I've never met Shane, but we have a lot of mutual friends. I have a lot of respect for him as an executive and a professional wrestler. Shane is always welcome in AEW." And we're all just blowing this off at this point. We're like, what nonsense. And maybe this has nothing to do with it directly, but I just want to throw this in here because it is interesting nonetheless. But on June 1st, PW Insider reported that Mercedes Moné ran into Shane McMahon at the airport. PWInsider.com has confirmed with multiple sources that AEW TBS and New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Women's Champion Mercedes Moné was seen this morning, July 1st, with Shane McMahon at LaGuardia Airport in New York City. We are told that each other were seen speaking on their way to their respective flights. One source, when PW Insider reached out to confirm whether the story was true, confirmed that they did have a conversation about AEW. There have been rumors of Shane McMahon's alleged interest in AEW in recent weeks, with President Tony Khan noting that he would be open to speaking with McMahon. So that stayed pretty much as such, stayed like that. And again, just like the few things going on. It all seems so happenstance and whatnot, right? It just seems all coincidental. And you think everything would just stay like that, but then on July 3rd, Mercedes Moné puts out her newsletter, and she addressed the situation in her newsletter, which is kind of wild. This is what the quote says. "After it all, by only the fates aligned, I walked into the airport, was in line by the bagel shop, when I suddenly looked up, and there he was, just as surprised as I was. My first day being a double title holder and the first wrestler and former WWE superstar I see is Shane McMahon. Come on. If that isn't the universe working in divine timing, I don't know what else it could be. I've always loved Shane. When we locked eyes, we both kind of looked at each other like, is that you? Our faces lit up and we got to talking a bit before he boarded his flight. He gave me his number. The rest, as they say, is history or maybe a mystery." Okay, so there's for something that may or may not be happening, there sure is a lot of stuff happening. a lot of people addressing things, right? So, after this, things started to die down until July 31st, just last week. It wasn't July 30th. Yeah, it was Wednesday, the day after I record the podcast, of course. Wrestle Talk tweeted a photograph of Tony Khan and Shane McMahon in a meeting room with the following caption: "A shot of Tony Khan meeting with Shane McMahon recently in Texas. This is wild." Fightful followed up this post by saying Shane McMahon is said to have met with Tony Khan on Monday to, quote unquote, discuss possibilities moving forward. The meeting was held in Arlington, Texas, where AEW is, of course, running a residency at the Esports Stadium until mid-August. On July 31st, same day, Shane McMahon issued a statement on Busted Open Radio. Yeah, Bully Ray read it. Here is the statement, quote, "Tony and I were connected through a mutual friend and we had a great meeting. We talked about many things, but mostly about our shared love for the business and the rewards and challenges of working with family. I congratulated him on the 5-year anniversary of AEW and look forward to see how he evolves the business moving forward." On August 6th, then, like a week later, Tony Khan was on ESPN Radio and discussed the meeting. It goes like this, quote, "Well, as I understand, he's not doing anything with WWE, and I had a really nice visit with him. I had heard from a lot of people that he was interested in talking, and it had become, frankly, a big media story to the point where I was getting asked on the record questions about it, and I answered them, and just like I'll answer you now. I had never met him in advance of my first conversation with him. There was a lot of buzz about this, so I thought it would certainly be worth talking, and I have a lot of respect for him. I had never met him." We're making sure that we get it, Tony. "I had never met him, but he seemed like a really nice guy. I sat down with him. He was fantastic. I really enjoyed talking to him, and he was a very smart person about wrestling, and I thought he was a great guy, and we have a lot of mutual friends, and we both happen to be in Dallas." Khan also noted that it was a mutual friend who put them in contact. He said that the picture that leaked online was taken by someone who just, quote unquote, busted in and took a picture. As an aside, Mercedes Moné claimed claimed responsibility for the photo. I don't know about the leak, but about the photo. So that's where we're at today, as of August 6, 2024. Which is when we record the MrWarrenHayes podcast every Tuesday night, in fact, live, 7 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you join us. What does Shane McMahon have to offer AEW? And I ask this earnestly. And you have thoughts, you have comments, let me know. But I'm going to let you know mine, because that's probably why you're here. I think Shane McMahon doesn't have much to offer AEW, quite frankly. Unless you're really into AEW becoming more and more a little WWE. If you're into that, that's what he has to bring, right? You know, I've seen people say, "Oh, he has such a good head for business." I'm like, really? Well, how? Why? How do you know? How do you know Shane McMahon is a great businessman? I have no proof of this. The guy worked for his dad's company for the majority of his adult life. Hell, he started at 15 years old in the merch warehouse, working for his dad. And all of the positions that he had in the company, they were all, you know, you can, just not unlike Stephanie, were all positions given because he was Vince's kid. I'm not saying he was bad at his job, but I also don't hear necessarily that he was all that great about it either. I don't know why people suddenly assume he's this great businessman. He wanted Vince to buy Pride. You remember that? You remember when Shane tried to spearhead a a purchase of the MMA group Pride. That didn't quite work out. And as a performer, I don't want Shane on TV. I couldn't deal with Shane on TV back when I was still watching a lot of WWE. I was like, oh no, not this guy again. What is he gonna jumping off stuff? We've got more than enough guys. We got more than enough stuff of more than enough people doing that. We've got Darby. It's fine. I don't need Shane McMahon dropping off of things. I don't need his shitty working punches. I don't need his awkward ass promos. Does everyone forget that in his final run in WWE, his promos were just convoluted and he'd trip over himself? They were bad. Does no one remember this? Why would anyone want shit? There is an attachment to Shane McMahon by WWE fans that I do not conceive. I don't understand. I don't get it. That guy has go away heat for me. You know? He's cringe is what he is. And he's older than when he was, much older than when he was jumping off of shit. And people always remember this stuff. And Daddy's not around anymore to try and impress him. Like, why would he even do that? Like, I think of the idea of Tony Khan bringing in Shane McMahon, and all I can think of is shock value. Because don't get me wrong, if that were to happen, it would be the most talked about thing for days. It would be the craziest thing. A McMahon on AEW television. That would just be nuts. But that's the point, is that then after, what do you do with this? What do you do moving forward? What is the next step? Once you're done with the shock of the thing, what do you do with Shane? Because the shock wears off in about a week. And again, if this is always a strategy to say, well, we're going to get some WWE fans to start watching, you won't. It doesn't work that way. WWE fans will only watch WWE. They don't watch anything else. And they're not going to abandon you because Shane McMahon is on AEW. I would contend that current WWE fans, right, who point to the sky when Roman Reigns shows up, who sing along with Seth Rollins' tune, you know, who yeet. I would even go as far as to say that they don't know who Shane McMahon is outside of, he's one of Vince's kids, and that's that. They don't know anything. They don't know about the Nitro takeover. They don't know about the corporation, the corporate ministry. They don't know about Raw Underground. Bless them. But they don't. You think that everyone after SummerSlam going, oh, TC, oh yeah, baby, is going to turn to watch Shane McMahon, their dad, essentially a dad, show up on AEW TV? Come on. That's what I'm kind of fearful of. That Tony would go, oh, well, you know, this will pop a rating. And I hate to think that Tony is in this type of position now. Or that his mentality has come to this. that he would consider doing this, and I'm talking as if it's a done deal. Bear with me. We're going on the hypothetical that it would happen, right? I would hate to think that this is where Tony is at when thinking about his wrestling show. That this is how he's gonna grow the audience, build an audience, right? By doing this kind of stuff. Look, I honestly hope Shane McMahon stays as far away as possible from AEW, right? And I see it in the chat, right? It's like, oh, he could work on from a business standpoint. But what does he bring to the table? Again, I do not understand. Like he was involved in creative backstage, right? He was involved in creative. Don't forget, this was a guy, the last Royal Rumble that he tried to get some input in, or the last Royal Rumble he had some input in, he was trying to place it so he'd be like in the final four, right? Do you remember this? And Vince vetoed it and told him to get the hell out of the building. Do you remember this? Why is everyone acting like having Shane around is like this brilliant coup? That, oh yes, absolutely. What does he bring to the table? And his non-WWE business ventures, there's this weird broadband internet that he set up like in a region of China. I don't even understand exactly, like based out of Colorado, okay? Like his offices are in Colorado, supplying broadband internet to a rural region of China. And I'm not making this up. The company's called Broadband China Incorporated or something to that effect. You've never heard about it. You do some research online for it, and basically all you can find is the business listing in the I think it's in Colorado Springs. You find the business reading in the Colorado Springs business listings. It's like there's nothing. There's no reviews. There's nothing. And he's on these boards. And it's like, okay, sure. What does Shane have to bring? I asked the question with a certain amount of earnestness. What does Shane McMahon bring to the table? I do not understand what it is.